Welcome back to Bleav in Softball. I'm your host, Jenna, and Women's History Month continues, and softball season continues. Name a better duo. I don't think you can. But one thing that really resonated with me in last week's episode with Stanford outfielder Taylor Gimbelsberger is that through the challenges over the last year, she said a big thing she learned is how much softball actually means to her, after how hard it was to be away from it, and especially her teammates. And really, that's what it's all about. I mean, the game and all that goes with it, and the group of women that you go to battle with, laugh with, cry with, grow with, do everything with. Getting to share those stories on this show is the dream. And I know it means a lot to you too. So some reminders and ways you can follow and support. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bleav in Softball. That's BLEAV. Subscribe to Bleav in Softball on YouTube too, so you can also watch the episodes. With that, let's go through today's order. First, we'll cover our bases, share some softball news and updates with you. Then we'll head into today's interview with Samantha Findlay, who is basically a Women's College World Series legend. If you know, you know. If not, you're about to find out. And then we'll end things with the Foul Tip of the Week, our segment where we share tips to get better as members of the softball community and as people. So let's dive right in. Covering our bases. So many things to talk about in college softball. It's really hard to pick what to cover every week in this section. I mean, it's a fun problem to have. I missed having that problem last year. So I do want to give some shout outs and highlight some things for each big part of the game that I'm noticing so far in the season. Defense, I gotta give some love to Aaliyah Andrews. Have you seen the Sports Center highlights? She's a center fielder at LSU. Multiple full extension diving catches to her left, to her right, covering a ton of ground. It's just beautiful. And she is the sister of Gold Glover and Athletes Unlimited player AJ Andrews, who we're used to seeing her make plays like that at LSU. Now it's like deja vu. LSU deja vu. You see what I did there? I like it. But basically, the two of them are basically Air Andrews, and we need a merch deal ASAP, in my opinion. So that's defense. Offense, really want to give a shout out to Maddie Hackbarth from ASU. 12 home runs and 34 RBIs on the season already. She had 9 home runs in 9 games. Unreal. But what I also like is she's also hitting .491 this season and leading the team in doubles with 8. That's the kind of thing to me that moves you from a good power hitter to a great consistent hitter. Home runs are great, obviously, but gap-to-gap hitting is where it's at. Also, shout out to Arizona State offense in general. They're hitting .388 as a team with 48 home runs. They were on track to just absolutely, well, no, not even on track. They exploded last year with home runs too, and they're already almost at 50. It's insane. And they'll probably add to that this weekend as Pac-12 play starts. And I remember interviewing head coach Trisha Ford last year, and she gave a ton of credit to their hitting coach, Jeff Harger, and how he really knows how to work with hitters individually for what they need. And they also had some cool tech where you could literally simulate the field in a batting cage. You could see Farrington Stadium, for example, track the ball path, etc. It was just crazy. But needless to say, they know what they're doing in Tempe. So that's offense. Pitching, gotta call out recent Bleav in Softball guest, Rachel Garcia. And actually, ASU and UCLA will be playing each other to open up conference play this weekend. So we'll probably see Garcia and Hackbarth go head-to-head. That'll be fun. But just for background, Garcia was out for a little bit after getting injured while legging out an infield single a few weeks back. But she's back. Her first real start in the circle was versus UNLV this past weekend. And I say her first real start because I'm not counting the February start she had where she didn't throw a pitch because it was after she had her injury. But in her first real start, recorded 14 of 15 outs by strikeout. She's only got 10 1/3 innings pitched this season. It's a really small sample size, but she hasn't allowed a single run this season and has recorded 28 of 31 outs by strikeout. That's the part that really got me when looking at her stats. That many strikeouts, like proportionally to the outs you're getting as a pitcher. Crazy. But that's what the greats do. They don't skip a beat. And I think it's going to be great for her prepping for the Olympics as well. Speaking of which, let's do an Olympic prep sort of around the world. Some maybe quick facts and updates for all the teams. because we're getting closer and closer. As I mentioned last week, Team USA and Team Mexico played exhibition games against each other. The US is continuing the Stand Beside Her tour at college campuses as well, like Florida this week. So it was a reunion for Aubrey Monroe, Michelle Moultrie, Kelsey Stewart. Now, the team didn't have Rachel Garcia, Bubba Nichols, and Deja Mulipula, who are all playing in college, but still really awesome to see them together again. But also don't forget that Team Mexico has collegiate players too. 3 players were named to the USA Softball Player of the Year Top 50 watch list. Tatiana Forbes, Nicole Mendez, and Aaliyah Jordan, who are obviously getting great reps this college season, which is great. Team Australia is participating in a 2-week simulation camp with the Australian Institute of Sport, the AIS, gold medal program. And basically they're getting mentoring from 11 Olympic and Paralympic gold medalists. And it's really based on scenario planning. So they're playing games at the same time as their Olympic schedule will be played. So they're really getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Japan, their roster is set to be named March 23rd. Now, other teams like Team USA just kept the same roster as they already had in 2020. Other teams have waited to kind of finalize that roster. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but the team is in training camp in Okinawa until the 19th, so the end of this week. And head coach Utsugi and the Japanese Softball Association will then name the 15-player roster after that. But we already know that Yukiko Ueno will be one of their aces. We talk a lot about how Kat and Monica from USA having been there in 2008 for the last Olympics. Well, so was Ueno, right? And she's just a top tier pitcher, so I'm excited to see her. Canada, Softball Canada launched a new female mentorship program that is designed to develop future female coaches, umpires, and administrators throughout Canada in the softball world. And there will be opportunity for career development, professional and leadership skill building, and networking. And I just love this update because it's all about investing in women. And that's what matters, really. That's what all this is about at the end of the day. So lastly, with Team Italy, they have been dealing with some adversity recently after the passing of their coach, Enrico Obleder. So firstly, I want to send out some thoughts, prayers, condolences to the entire organization, especially Italy team captain and former guest on the show, Erica Biancastelli. Team Italy has since then named Federico Pizzolini as a new head coach for the Olympics, and also want to wish him the best as they as a team get ready for Tokyo. So lots of updates that are all kind of all over the spectrum. And all of this really is a reminder of how much is going on and off the field for these Olympic athletes. After all this buildup, the trials and tribulations, these Olympic Games, I think really will be like no other in more ways than one, like not just because of the protocols around COVID, but the larger effects and other things that are happening as well. And I just can't wait to see the passion flow through the players when they finally get there. But we also have plenty of softball to watch until then, some unbelievable moments that we'll witness, and somebody who knows what that's all about is today's guest. So let's head into the interview. She is a Michigan alum, 2005 NCAA national champion, 4-time All Big Ten honoree, and program record holder, Samantha Findlay. Thanks for joining. I'm so excited.
Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. I think what you're doing is great. It's great for the game, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think what you've done for the game is also great in so many ways. But maybe I'll just start with this. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I currently work downtown in the city of Chicago where I grew up. So I'm back home. And I'm a human resource manager of about 300 truck drivers. So I'm putting my education to work.
Yeah, no kidding. Geez, that's a lot of work, actually.
Yeah. I enjoy the challenge. I work for a very good company, Ozinga Concrete. It's a family-owned fifth generation company. I've been here for 7 years. It's my home away from home, and I work with a great team here in Chicago.
I love that. I love it when you see players kind of take what it is that they learned too, like in that college experience, and for you in the professional experience as well as a softball player, but then transfer that over and apply it to other careers too?
Yeah, I would definitely say the things that I learned under Carol Hutchins' tutelage at Michigan has definitely set me up for success for the many challenges of the real workplace in my professional career.
Oh, I'm sure. And I definitely have some questions for you about Hutch, because how can we not talk about her, right? Like, come on.
Can't talk about Michigan softball without Carol Hutchins.
Exactly. They're synonymous. Like, come on. But, you know, like, back to you. We'll get to Hutch, but back to you. Everyone knows, you know, you will forever be linked to that one pitch in Oklahoma City, the walk-off home run to win the national championship against UCLA. And I remember watching it live on TV when I was a teenager, you know, and fast forward 16 years later, like here we are talking about it again, right? But how do you look back on that experience now?
I think now looking back, obviously that was one of the biggest stages of my life, one of the biggest stages of my career. But looking back now, honestly, it had to do with the team, to be honest with you. And yeah, it's cliche, but if that team wasn't that team, or we didn't have the motivation that we had, or set the goals the way that we did, I don't think I would have achieved what I was able to achieve in that moment. And I do think that what I learned most was taking on those pressure situations is something my entire life I've wanted to be a part of. And I think that's what had made me successful. Was it wasn't a pressure situation. It was like any other game. I just knew I needed to perform and step up.
So that's the thing that you're already hitting on it right here, which I wanted to ask you. It's like, what does it take to be clutch? Because so many people look at just the moment and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, this is so rainbows and butterflies, you know what I mean? But it's so much that leads up to that moment, to your point.
I think the moment is the preparation before, and it is an absolute grind of a mindset, and the mindset of an athlete to put their own pressure on themselves in practice. Like I try to teach young girls that I work with, is that your practice, you should be mentally and physically drained at the conclusion of practice. Then I know I put in the work I needed to perform when the game's on the line and the bases are loaded and my team's down by 3 runs. Now I'm ready because I've been there before and I've practiced it with the type of pressure that I need. And I think that that's what's going to separate the good athletes from the great in a clutch situation, is they act in poise, they act calm, they've been here before. But that has taken on so much practice through repetition, through visualizing like the game's on the line, feeling that pressure, your adrenaline comes. And I think that the more that you can make practices like that, the game becomes easy. The game is the fun part. So I think that will ultimately help you.
I think I actually read you talking about that, just that you really were having so much fun. And it's like, you know, winning is the most fun, obviously, but yeah. But sometimes when we take that too seriously, like there's a line between, you know, respecting the game, dedicating, you know, yourself to your craft, and then like overdoing it.
I agree. I think the big thing that separates us, at least at the collegiate level, was the way that the coaches handle the morale of the team and the commitment of the group, I think is important. And the attitude of the coaching staff plays a vital role in how the athletes are going to respond. And I think that year in particular, it was like, we were all together. Like 1 was picking up 9 was picking up 1, like number 16 on the team was just as valuable of a player and in their role as the number 1 pitcher was. And I think once you learn to accept that as a group, then you can achieve those goals that you want collectively as a group, because everybody has a path and your roles may change, but you have a clear indication of where you're going and how you're going to get there.
That's so true. And I feel like this theme has come up a lot, actually, when I've talked to other people who have been where you've been, you know, like actually won in Oklahoma City. It's that we needed every single person on this team. You know, recently I talked with Callista Balco from U of A, right? And I'm sure you guys played against each other, right? Like, but it was sort of the same mindset, you know, that she was saying, like, we needed everybody on the team. Even beyond that, like an international ball, Team Mexico qualifying for the first time ever. Like that's something that they say, like we needed every single person to make that happen. But you're right. It kind of comes down to that buy-in as a group.
And that commitment starts, like, I think day one, and that's important. Like, everybody says, oh, day one, you set your goals, but day one is where you set your goals and you commit to it, and you commit to it every single day. You walk across the line and put on a uniform that says Michigan across your chest, or USA across your chest, or UCLA for that matter. Whatever it is, it's the mindset that you have going into that practice, into that game. And that's what truly separates the good from the great, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it, to be honest. Oh, man. And I know that Jessica Merchant was a senior when you were the freshman, like during that winning year for you guys. And it's funny because, like, I'm a Stanford softball alum, as we've talked about, and I'm actually in the area calling games on the live streams right now. And I've met her a few times. Thank you. Yeah, I met her a few times, and I can just see, like, that competitiveness. And it makes so much sense to me why Coach Allister, the head coach at Stanford, was like, yep, need Merchant here, because they were at Minnesota together. Now they're here. They're doing their thing. But I was excited to talk to you, not just about her, but about the team in general, because it's really cool that you guys are able to do that. And she being a senior to your freshman, you know?
I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned. I walked into there, obviously 18 years old, and you're like, full life is ahead of you. But I walked in there and I had a few seniors on the team, Jessica Merchant in particular, and Nicole Motika, that were seniors, but they treated me like I was a member of the team, not that I was a freshman. And I think that when you can do that as a senior athlete and impact a freshman athlete in that manner, knowing that they're going to help you just as much get to your goals as you want to get there, that was the turning point for me. I was accepted as a member of the Michigan softball team, not a freshman on the Michigan softball team. And Jessica Merchant obviously played a big role in that. And she is very competitive. She still is very competitive, I would assume. But that's what makes her great. And that's what made her a great teammate, you know. And I'll never forget it. She struck out that at bat before I hit it. And she came back to me on deck and she smacked my helmet so hard, I knew. I was like, I was doing it for her. And I was doing it for my team, more importantly. But like, that type of pick me up in that situation, like, hey, you got this. Not like upset that you struck out, but like, you're going to pick me up. I know you're going to do it. And that gave me, I think, the confidence and put the play into motion.
Yeah. I mean, that's real leadership, you know? Like, people talk about that in terms of your partner in life, right? It's like, you don't want someone who's standing in front of you or behind you. You want someone that's right there next to you, you know? And And I feel like with teammates, I've always been a believer that age is not a factor.
No, and I don't agree.
Yeah. Well, you're like the ultimate example of that, right?
You try to train your athletes that way too. Like, you know, why are you going to wait till your senior year to make it happen? Like, you're walking in the door at the same place. You got 4 years to show yourself. So.
Yeah. But to your point, the fact that you were kind of put in a position to be successful by your teammates, by Hutch, by everybody that at that point, you know, like it takes that whole team culture to even allow you to feel like, oh, I'm not just a freshman, right? Like, them being able to do that helps you thrive at the end of the day.
I agree. And it helped us thrive as a team that year, because it was, like I said, it wasn't just one of us or one game. It literally was the entire staff, from volunteer coach. I remember Coach Teague. I'll never forget her. She would always, you know, she's always staying after practice late. I believe she's the head coach at Columbia now, but she's always staying after late. You want some more front toss? Like, yeah, like it involved the entire crew. And that's why we were great, I think, that year. And it's not easy, as you can tell. We never made it back that my other 4 years. So it's not an easy task to win a World Series, let alone get there. But I think that's a true testament, you know, to the coaching staff there that we had during the years I was there.
Yeah. I mean, especially at the time that you guys did it and the time that you were in the collegiate softball scene, like, it was just so Pac-12 dominant, West Coast dominant. The fact that you guys were actually the first program, you know, east of the Mississippi River that had won a title, the first program from a cold weather state. It's so much bigger than just like that one pitch, that one moment, you know?
I think the turning point, honestly, for us that year, I remember vividly, was in California at the Fullerton tournament. I think we were close to being ranked higher, and we had a good record. But that tournament, I think people started to give us the respect that we obviously had earned finally. And it was after that tournament, because we started winning big ball games, and we were winning against, those top teams that you see at the World Series every single year, winning the World Series every single year, multiple years. So I think that that was a turning point for us, and that further piggybacked our train of success. Like, we can hang. And I think that motivated us even more to get where we did end up getting at the end.
Right. And beyond just what you did for Michigan softball, and it's like, what do you think about in terms of Big Ten softball? Like, how would you describe Big Ten softball? Because it's a Power 5 conference, but again, the Pac-12 and then recently the SEC is such a central focus, at least on TV. It's like, what about Big Ten softball do we need to know?
I think that Big Ten softball earned the opportunity that they can make it, and they can make it and make an impact in the Women's College World Series and be a contender. Because after, I think we were there, like Northwestern started going a lot. Iowa was making it far in the super sectionals. Like, a lot of other teams, Illinois turned it around their program. Like, a lot of other Big Ten teams were hanging up there. And I think that it just hopefully motivated the other schools and let them know, like, we can do it. Yeah, you have things in your way. We can't play 24/7 year round, but you can just compete and create that mindset as if it were year round. It's all, I think, in the way that you look at it, and obviously your mindset, in my own opinion, but I think that that's hopefully what will help Big Ten contenders day in and day out get back to the World Series.
Yeah. And even seeing Minnesota,
Yes.
like, and what they've been able to do in recent years, it's like, to be frank, it just not like a super top of mind program, really, in D1 before. But then, obviously Jessica Merchant helped with that. But, and then Coach Alistair from Stanford, and she was my assistant coach my freshman year.
Oh, she was? Okay,
yes.
Great.
And she recruited most of the people I played with, you know what I mean? And again, when I met Merchant, I was like, okay, I can totally see how these two
complement each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But just, what they're able to do, and it's lasted since they've even left. Like, now that they've been at Stanford for a few years, it's still, Minnesota's ranked. Like, they went to that World Series. Like, they have some great players. It's cool. And that's when I really started paying more attention to Big Ten softball.
And I think the impact is just that culture. Like, you can see what Alistair and a Merchant would bring, what type of, mentality and experience that they would bring. And when you can convince 16 to 18 young women athletes that, hey, I'm here for you, I'm behind you, let's work hard. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a grind, but we're in it for a reason, and we're in it to win it. And we want to, I will never forget, Jessica Merchant said that, not many seniors get to win their last game. And she was able to be a senior that won her last game. Like, most of us lose our last game, So I think that in and of itself is the key thing, is having a coaching staff that complements each other well and gets 16 to 18 girls who should love playing on the field. You take you away from the rest of the world for whatever hours that you're out there, and focus on the one thing that you all truly are passionate about and love.
Yes. And it's so much easier said than done, but that's awesome. And so now I got to ask about Hutch. Like, now we've paved the path here. So how was she able to do that so well?
Her presence, I would say her presence and her ability to get you to understand why she needs you to do what she's asking you to do. And then not just her presence, but holding you accountable to it. And like I said, it wasn't just her. Bonnie's very good at the attention to detail part. And I take that with me here every day to my job. So that detail oriented, like that compliment, and obviously Biggie with the pitching staff and the catching staff, that mindset, and her obviously UCLA background does help a little bit. But I think that for the most part, it just truly, it's her command presence, her ability to express how much Michigan softball means to her, but how much it should mean to us. And I think that in your 4 years that you're there, you learn that, and you learn a lot of respect for who she is and what she's done for that program and continues to do.
I mean, almost 40 years at Michigan. Like, it's crazy. And she's
I know.
somebody that you always see like every year on TV, and you look forward to it. I feel like she's kind of a favorite. Like, I love to watch her, having
Fan
no
favorite.
like, yeah, she kind of is, like, having no direct link to Michigan. I was like, oh, I really like her. I like watching like what they do there. And so
She's definitely got a creative approach, and it works, and it works for Michigan, and it works for all the alumni that have ever been there and the current staff that is there. And they just truly are lucky. It goes by too fast, and they're very lucky to have that kind of guidance in their life, truly.
Yeah. And it seems like that extends far beyond, your 4 years actually on the field, on the team. Like, the alumni base seems really invested too. And that seems like it's a reflection of her as well.
I agree 100%. And that's what I loved about Michigan was the family atmosphere and the way that so many people from so many years of playing ago come out and still continue to support that program and support her. And I think that's a testament to her character and who she is.
Yeah. I remember reading in 2015, so 10 years after you guys won it, Team 28, but you guys wrote the letters to Team 38. Just kind of passing on learnings and encouragement and all that stuff. And that's so cool. Like, how did that even come about?
I'm not sure 100% who started it or how it came out, but I do remember, them reaching out to us. And I thought at the time, I'm like, wow, this is really awesome. Like, I wish I would have got a letter, like at the heat of, all the pressure. You're getting a letter from somebody who had worn your number. So that's a ton of respect at Michigan, like honoring the people that wore your number before you. But that's the type of culture she's created. So it makes you to be prouder that you're a part of something bigger than yourself. That's the biggest thing I think I took from it, is that I'm invested into Michigan and Michigan softball. And that's something bigger than who I am. And I love that part about that.
Yeah. I saw that you guys like were flying in from all over, long drives too, like to get there. Like, it's just really cool when you see that, because yes, those 4 years are important, but it is a lifetime thing that you decide to do when you choose that place that you're going to spend your collegiate career.
Mm-hmm. And I think more young athletes should do their research, and it would help them out, because there's so many places and there's so many opportunities. But then it gets back to like, how bad do you want it and what do you want?
Right. And I feel like we've already covered some of this, but it's like, what was it that drew you to Michigan? Like, why were you like, yes, I need to be a part of this program?
I knew I wanted to go to a program where I could compete, that was competitive. I wanted to be a little bit away from home, but not too far, because my grandmother has passed, but I wanted her to be able to travel to the games. She came to all my high school games. So it was important that at least for me, it wasn't too far. And a 4-hour trip to Ann Arbor is an easy ride for an 80-year-old lady, apparently, according to my dad. So I wanted to be somewhere far enough where I could say I went to college and that my grandma could still come watch us play. So that's the reason why I went there. And then obviously, I mean, I think my official visit, when I stepped on campus, it's like a feel, you just kind of know. And I stepped on campus and met the coaches, and it felt right to me. So I canceled a couple other ones, not too happy. And I made my way with Michigan, and I think it was a good choice in the end.
That's also something that comes up all the time. It's like you have that kind of like warm, fuzzy feeling. I felt that same way coming to Stanford, and most people do. But I think you hit on something that's so important, which is the fit that's right for you. People get caught up in certain expectations or certain things they think they want, but it's like, what fits for your life? You're a Midwest girl. You wanted to be close to family, and I actually similar. Like I'm from Southern California, went to Northern California, so I was, away. But like, yes, my family
still home.
Exactly. My family could come see, and so you kind of get that independence. Like you learn how to be on your own, but then you also, to your point, it's like you're not like, you don't feel like you're on the other side of the world.
Right. I think that's what probably made me more successful, because I felt like I was away, could enjoy it, enjoy the experience, but then I knew that they were going to be there. And that's why, that's why you play for you play for your family, and most and more importantly, you play for your team.
Yeah. Well, and your team ends up being a new form of family.
Correct.
It's like, yes, your family, okay, they were in the Chicago area, cool, they would come watch you, but your family, when you weren't with them,
it's 18 other girls who love doing what you do every single day.
Yeah, there's just nothing like it. Like, teammates are, it's hard to describe, because it's not like anything else, in my opinion. It's like, they're not, blood family or whatever. They're not just a normal friend. It's like, you're more than just friends. That doesn't quite describe it,
Because you care about them and you want them to be successful too. I think that's kind of what separates a teammate. Like, you want each teammate to do as best as they can do. And if we all do 1% better daily, at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we're all 365% better. So collectively as a group, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's spot on. But Hutch, to your point, Hutch had to create the environment that nurtured that between you guys, and so that's the thing. It's like, with coaches, there's the on-field stuff. They know their stuff, they're able to teach, that sort of thing, but then there's the off the field stuff too. How do you think she was able to sort of bring both of those things together?
In that aspect, I would say we obviously as a team hung out with each other nonstop, regardless of if she force funded or not, but I would never call it force funding. Stuff that points out is like, in Ann Arbor, we would go up there, a few of us, and you meet with the children and you meet with the patients, and you bring your signed balls, and they appreciate it. They appreciate the time, and doing stuff like that, giving back to the community, I think brings you together as a team. And that's kind of how we grew up, while we were athletes, like being involved, going to help at the schools, things of that nature. There's so much help in the community, and if we can serve our communities, we could serve each other on the field. It's
such a good way to get perspective too. Like, there's so much failure in softball, and there's a lot going on in college. You're just trying to be a student too. There's a lot. And to kind of be able to participate in something like that with your teammates, it just kind of, I think it's a good reset for you, as well as just doing good in the world. Yeah. And I think that plays well in life also. So, I think we're meant to serve others. And I think a lot of us are blessed with the ability to inspire other people. And if you have a special gift and a talent, then share it with the people that need it the most. Right. That's what we're all called to do at the end of the day. Yep. I know we talk a lot about, again, that like big moment your freshman year, but like you said, you had 3 more years to play. Like, it's not like that was it for your career. There was still a lot of more softball ahead of you at the time. So, but when you have like that kind of success so early, how do you move forward from that? I think that you move forward from it, like the high of winning a national championship as a freshman, and then having to your sophomore year feel the pressure of, we got to get back there and do that. And I think that that's something I wish I had done a little bit differently. I put a lot of pressure on myself at the beginning, like have to be better than last year, had to do this. And I think it took away the focus of the goals as a group and the goals as a team. And you can look it up. My sophomore year was awful. And it is, but I think that in learning that failure after such success like that, it made me better my junior and senior year, because I wanted to stay consistent, and I wanted to show that it wasn't just 1 year and it was a 1 year hit. Like, I wanted to be known that I'm a good athlete for the collegiate career of 4 years. But I do think that as an athlete, when you fail like that, it had only made me better. Right. Because that's when you learn the hard stuff. That's right. And I think, what's cool about your career, in my opinion, is starting off strong is awesome. But you also finished really strong individually. Of course, you would have loved to have another title, right? Like, yes. Of course. But, just in terms of your journey, I love to see that. I love when people finish strong. And I think, statistically speaking, that was your best year of the 4, right? Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I'm not a big stats girl. So
I think it was. And like I said, I do remember wanting to finish strong and prove that I was capable of being a consistent athlete. And I think anybody would want that in 4 years.
Yeah. But I think what you just said is actually important. Like, you're not big on stats. You can't get consumed by stats. Oh my gosh. If you just look at the numbers constantly, you'll go crazy. There's so much more failure than success, at least hitting wise. Yeah. So I feel like that's also a thing.
The one thing that we were successful at least my freshman year, and I'm sure she continues to do it, is like, we were so dead set on like that one pitch softball mindset. And in softball, the best term memory is a short-term memory, because you have to get over stuff quickly and adjust constantly, and it's tons of repetition. You do the same stuff over and over again, but it's learning to embrace that repetition, which is what makes you successful, at least in this sport.
Yes, that's 100% right. And the other thing about your senior year, though, that I always think is interesting too, is the fact that you actually changed positions. Like, late in your career, you were able to do that for your team. What was the process like to make that sort of adjustment, way down the line?
Yeah. Well, champions adjust. That's my first thing. And when Carol Hutchins pulls you to the side and tells you, hey, this is what's going to be what's best for the team, I turned and looked at her and said, if that's what's best for this team, I'm in it. And so that's what happened. Dorian Shaw was a highly touted freshman coming in. And as you know, I obviously had just come merchant. So I was a senior, and I wanted to guide her the best way that I was. And so that kind of cycle happened again to me. And like I said, if Coach Hutch pulls you in and says it's best for the team, I'm on board. And I'm on board all the way. And that's what it was. And we made it work.
Yeah. I mean, when she's the kind of coach that makes you buy in no matter what, but it's that mindset. Like, I love the fact that you just said champions adjust, because it's so true. Like, it's never get comfortable. It's always, I don't know. It's always to focus on the next pitch, do the next right thing.
That I definitely take that type of champions adjust mindset. I take with me every day in life, because there's always going to be something that didn't go the way that you planned. You adjust, find a way. And I'm saying, how can I get to the end result? Figure it out.
You have said it a few times, and you've even shared some of this already, but to go into further depth, how has everything that you've experienced and learned in softball transferred into your life now?
I would have to say that the lessons that I learned through softball are something that I take with me daily. In my routine, I raised 2 children. I have a son that's 7, Logan, named after the Wolverine, and my princess daughter, Annabelle. She's 5. And, it's a constant mindset, and it's a constant ability to adjust. Paying attention to the details, being detail-oriented is something I need to be successful at my job. But I also chose a career who believes in family and understands the balance between work life and your family life. And I think that that's what's helped me be successful in where I am today with my company here. Being a human resource manager of 300 truck drivers is never easy. Dealing with their families, having to talk to the wives and things of that nature. And on a quick basis, I have to make command decisions and the right decisions. And I think the ability that I learned through softball has transpired into my work here and into my career and my professional life. And I am forever grateful, obviously, for that time management, that attention to detail, and, being able to be strong enough to make hard decisions. Like those pressure situations create for you. It happens to me daily. And I feel that I'm successful with it because of that mentality that has been shaped from previously playing.
I love that. And the fact that you once again have chosen something that's the best fit for you. You did that when you went to Michigan, yes. But you're doing that now. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. And speaking of your kids, I'm glad you brought them up, because I have seen some photos of your daughter hitting off the tee in a dress.
So, she's lefty by natural, the way that she grips the bat. And she likes to wear a dress and heels, but if she's going to wear a dress and heels and she wants to work at it, she's going to work hard. So
That's right. I like that. I mean, that's what you got to do. Those are good parenting skills right there.
And you got to let your kids be your kids. And Anna is who she is. She likes to wear a dress and heels. Then she's going to hit softballs. I'm all for it. Let her be her.
Exactly.
I think the biggest thing for me is, at least here at Ozinga, is being a part of a team. And I am a part of a team here in the Chicago division. We have a smaller office than our corporate office here where I'm stationed in Chicago. And there's about 30 of us staff in my office daily. And we are a big team. And the way that we communicate amongst each other, our senior staff, and in the way that we solve problems before they happen, like I feel that I'm on a part of a team like I was when I played softball. And knowing that I have my coworkers back and they have mine, and that we all want to succeed together and we want to run this company as if it were our own. And I think that's one of the things that I learned through softball, taking care of what matters, and what matters is the people next to you and supporting each other. And we're all getting to that end goal in the end. And that's what I love most about working here. The Ozingas are really big on family and being able to separate your personal life from your work life. And they allow us that opportunity here, which is one of the many reasons why I stay here at Ozinga. I love my job. I love being here, but they allow us the opportunity to have a family and go home and then come back again the next day and take on the next day. So that part about being an Ozinga worker is something that I value.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good example for your kids too. Doing things for your kids and all that kind of stuff is awesome, but being an example for them to see is also so important.
Emulation is the key to all success. If you want to be successful, then you need to emulate the characteristics and the traits of those who you aspire to be like. And that's something that I learned at a very young age, thankfully, and continue to do it throughout my life and still will till this day.
Nailed it. I love that. I'm going to have to start using that more often.
Yep.
Perfect. Gosh, I don't know how we follow that. Well, I mean, this has been awesome. I love getting to hear more of your story. Because again, like I said, I remember watching you, on
That's
TV.
awesome.
Like when I was starting to go through the recruiting process, and
that's really cool.
Yeah. And so this has been really cool for, 14-year-old Jenna to
That's
be
awesome.
able to kind of full circle moment,
But I think the thing that you should be most proud of is that you started something new, and you started something that's for you. And I think everybody at some point in their life should start their own business or do something that they love, because that's what matters most. It is us being able to wake up and say you love what you do, and you of all people can say you love what you do and you're good at what you do. So I wish you nothing but the best of luck with your continuing endeavors with softball. And I do look forward to seeing the rest of the podcasts.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And yeah, you were one of the early followers of the podcast on social media. So thank you for that. Like, I appreciate that. Yeah, so when you followed, I was like, yes, I need to reach out to her.
Once you're a part of the softball community, which is obviously, as you know, is starting to grow, but you're always a part of the softball community. And I think it's important that we as athletes and, players of the game continue to support those that are trying to grow the game. And that's what the key is, because the key is the future, right? And so the future only holds what we're able to aspire them to be and how bad they want it. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I can't wait. Softball is like, it's the growth we've already,
it's almost here.
I mean, the growth we've already seen too. It's like crazy to think what's going to come next, because even since you played, since I played, like it's changing so much. But you're right. At the end of the day, that's what we all want. We want it to continue to get bigger and bigger. So,
yep.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I wanted to wrap up with a quick game that I play with everybody that I have on the show.
All right.
It's called Safer Out.
Oh, God.
Don't worry. Some people react that way too, but it
says the Stanford grad.
No. It's so simple. It's so simple.
All right.
So literally, I'm just going to bring up, a topic or something. And if you like it or you agree with it, you'll call it safe. But if you're like, I don't like that, and you don't agree with it, then you'll just call it out.
Out. Okay, I got it.
Makes sense? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's super simple. Don't worry. Don't overthink it.
All right.
So first question is, playing softball in the snow, safe or out?
Safe, because you can make it fun.
Yeah,
I'm from the Midwest.
That's why I had to ask, because I've never experienced that. So I was curious.
You can make some hard snowballs. I mean, when you hit them, they're gonna crush, but it's fun.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. I have to do that at some point. Like when COVID's not, in my traveling, like in my way to travel.
You're more than welcome to come to Chicago.
I would love to. I've heard nothing but good things about Chicago. The food, people love it. So I would love to do that.
It's a call away.
Yes, we'll make it happen for sure. But okay, so that's the first one, safe. Second one, I'm curious because of the multiple positions you played. First baseman wearing a normal infielder's glove versus a first baseman's mitt, safe or out?
I'm going to pull it in the middle because the glove is just an extension of your hand, so it shouldn't matter.
You know what? I kind of like that answer.
But however, I did use a first baseman's mitt at first and obviously a smaller one at second. But my views on it are that it is just an extension of your hand. So you should be able to, as long as you can open and close it properly, no matter what it is, you should be able to handle it.
I'm kind of with you. Some people are very first base purists, no, you have to wear it. And I'm like, well, whatever. I just think if it works for you, then fine. So I'm with you.
Okay. So I'm at second base on that one, I guess.
Yes. Okay. So with that being said, last one is, have to ask you this, bat flips, safe or out?
Negative, out.
Yeah.
I'm not a showboater. I get the excitement. The excitement should be, I Bleav that your work takes care and speaks for itself. I'm old school. So that's why I do enjoy it. It's fun to watch, but I'm an old school kind of do your thing and focus on the next thing.
Yeah. I'm more in that boat too. And I'm not surprised that was your answer. Cause of all people, you could have had the most epic bat flip of all time, at the World Series.
I was probably at second base by the time I would have bat flipped.
Yeah. But I'm always curious with who's more old school versus people who are playing right now,
And then I think the other thing is you just know, when you hit the ball well and you square it up. Yeah, it might go out or it'd have a chance, but you just it's a feel.
Yeah.
So to me, it's unnecessary. But like I said, I do watch it and I love the excitement part about it. If you're doing it because you're that excited, wow, I'm for that. But it's just not my thing.
Yeah, it's a personality thing too.
Yeah,
because sometimes you can tell okay, that was just authentic energy,
and that I'm okay with. That I like because I do like that because that motivates a team. I mean, that turns your team around, especially if you're losing.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely a momentum builder.
For certain.
Yeah, but maybe the home run's probably the bigger momentum builder, more so than the bat flip, but still.
There you go. Just a run on the board.
Exactly. Well, this was awesome. Again, thank you so much. So happy to have you on the show. Thank you for following the show. I'm so excited for the listeners to get a chance to hear more about your story.
I appreciate it. I truly think you're doing what you love and it's a testament to your character and who you are. So continue to do it and make it full force.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
All right, Jenna, you have a good day.
It was so fun to talk to Samantha. I mean, you see success and big moments like hers, especially in those huge pressure games on TV, like in the Women's College World Series. But to actually hear what's really going through the player's mind, everything that led up to that moment, and even what came after that moment in her softball career and just as a person and a professional, that's the real stuff. So I love getting to hear some of that from her. But on that note, let's transition to the foul tip of the week. This week's foul tip is about having a short-term memory. And really what this means is to not let whatever happened in one moment negatively affect what's going to happen in the next moment. For example, if you strike out, you don't want to dwell on that and everything you did wrong in the at-bat, get in a negative headspace and lose some focus, then make an error on defense. Thoughts are powerful and they can be contagious. Have you ever heard that question? Did you really have a bad day? Or was it a bad 5 minutes that you milked all day? Having a short-term memory allows you to be in the present so you don't let that 5 minutes turn into 6 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, a day, etc. But at the same time, I think it's also a good thing to have a short-term memory when things go well, too. I know it sounds interesting, but if you hit a home run, absolutely celebrate in that moment with your teammates. I mean, that's great. But you don't want to dwell on it too long. Let your confidence turn into a little bit of cockiness, maybe lose some focus, maybe get a little lazy, then make an error on defense because you're still thinking about your home run. We've talked about approaching the game one pitch at a time. It only takes one pitch for something good to happen or for something bad to happen. So you have to be ready for every single one. And having a short-term memory helps you do that. Now, of course, long-term memory has its purpose. You take notes after the game on what went well, what you need to work on. Having that kind of deeper reflection like that is good afterwards. But you even take some notes during the game too. Like if you notice a pattern with the pitcher sequence, that could help you and your teammates in your next at-bats. That's good. We don't need to ignore everything completely. You do store that information away. But when you're actually in the box, on the field, between the white lines, be present one pitch at a time and trust it. That's what will keep you sane. So that's it. Have a short-term memory. That's the foul tip of the week. You've been listening to Bleav in Softball, available anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you listen, including Bleav.com. Subscribe and watch the videos on YouTube as well. Hit that subscribe button everywhere, rate the show and write a review, share it with your friends. As always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Bleav in Softball, BLEAV. Of course, you can also reach out to me on Twitter at JennaBecerra01 and Instagram at JennaBecerra2. Thank you for tuning in once again, and catch you soon.